Hello enemies and book lovers, my name is Ash and welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to be doing my favorite books of 2022. There has been a good amount of books this year that I've just absolutely loved, and there's actually one in December that I gave 5 stars to. I have 6 books on this list of my favorite books of 2022. Some of them are 5 stars, some of them are very close to 5 stars, but I'm going to be going over them all and ranking them. I don't even know if I can rank them. I think I'm going to have 3 that are kind of unranked. They're like random order. And then I'm going to have my top 3 from 3rd to 2nd to 1st. I'm really excited to tell you about what these books are. So if you've been on my channel for a while, you might know some of these books, but if not, then I'm excited to tell you. So the first one on this list is going to be Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This is the 3rd and final book in the Green Bone Saga, and this was a trilogy I read in the beginning of the year before I started BookTube. This was, I think, during like a readathon that Mel was doing. She was reading the Green Bone Saga and doing live shows, so I was reading it alongside of it so I can watch the live shows with her. This is a trilogy that is it's a little bit different than what I'm used to. I'm not really a huge urban fantasy reader. I'm not really someone that enjoys them, and I'm still a little bit iffy on it. This trilogy would have been a lot higher for me, I think, if I was more comfortable with urban fantasy. There's a lot of politics in this trilogy. This trilogy follows characters through like a clan. It is very like mafia, yakuza kind of esque, where it's like a gang and with a rival gang, and they are trying to control Jade because Jade holds power within it for certain people. There are a lot of amazing characters. There is a lot of politics, like I said, through these clans. I just like really enjoyed the world. It was really hard for me to grasp sometimes. There's a lot of like babies and stuff, and some people don't like that. There's a little bit of like sexy scenes, and I didn't love them. But this trilogy is incredible. It's amazingly done. Fonda Lee is an amazing writer, and this pretty much just goes to show that I should read more of her books. And I probably will. This one is definitely a tearjerker. The last book, it was amazingly done. I could have liked it a bit more though, like I said, because I'm not a huge urban fantasy fan. Maybe that means I need to read more urban fantasy. Maybe. Next is a bit of a surprising one, I kind of one I just threw in at the end, and that is Guild by Raven Kennedy. This is a romantic fantasy or fantasy romance. The first one though, this one definitely doesn't feel like really much of fantasy romance. I think the reason why I have it on this list isn't really because I think it is like the best thing I read this year, more so that I thought I was surprised by it, and also it has a very low rating on Goodreads. I think it's like a 3 point something. That's not really low, but for Goodreads it's a little bit lower. But somehow I gave this a 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. There are a lot of content warnings with assault for female characters. It was a book that I thought was enjoyable, but like not amazingly written, but it's still good. I'm reading the next book, Gleam, actually next week from where I'm filming this. So I am still doing the series, continuing the series, and I'm hoping I will enjoy it and continue to enjoy it as I keep reading. This is the first story in the Plated Prisoner series. This follows Oren, who is a girl who is gold touch. She's entirely made of gold, from her hair to her toes, her tears, her blood, everything is gold. She is kind of the captive, although she doesn't see it that way, but she is held in this golden prison of a cage by Midas, King Midas. If you know King Midas, everything he touches turns to gold. She believes in the beginning that she's kind of like safe here. She's, you know, he's keeping her safe in this cage. It's a good thing. And then over time she starts to realize that maybe this cage isn't more for protection, but more for possession, I guess. It's a little bit of a darker fantasy romance. And the first book definitely doesn't really have romance in it, but I still enjoyed it thoroughly. I'm hoping I'll continue that when I read the rest of the books. The next one is a pleasant surprise, and I will die on this hill of loving this book, and that is The Darkness Outside Us by Elliot Schreffer. This was amazing. This is a sci-fi male. I don't even want to say it's really a romance. It's more like a sci-fi psychological, not kind of thriller-esque with romance added into it. I didn't actually go in thinking I would be there for the aspect of the sci-fi and psychological thing. I thought I was going in for the romance, and the romance was kind of the thing that was on the back burner for me. It was sweet, but I think it wasn't really the main focus of this book. It was more the sci-fi, the psychological mystery, what's happening here, we need to solve what's going on, and it was amazingly done in my opinion. I liked it so much. I loved this book. If you like sci-fi with a little bit of romance between 2 male characters, and you want to have a little bit of like mystery of what's happening within this space shuttle that they are currently in together, this is definitely something I would suggest to try and read. The actual premise of this book is that these 2 male characters wake up in this space shuttle, or in this like spacecraft. It's kind of smaller. There's 2 sections to it, and one is on one side, one's on the other. There's like a hatch in between them. Our main character tries to speak to the other guy. Sometimes he's a bit like aloof and doesn't really want to, but there's things happening around them that slowly you kind of learn as you go, and I can't really say too much from there, but definitely something I would suggest if you are interested in sci-fi, romance, a bit of mystery, that kind of thing. Okay, now that we have those three out of the way, now I'm doing my top 3 books of 2022, and this is really difficult to put in order, but I think I know what the order is going to be. If you've been here for a while, you might know 2 of these, but one of them is a surprise I actually have read this month, and is my second favorite book of the year. With that in mind, let's talk about my third favorite book of the year. So my third favorite book of this year is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I recently actually talked about this in a wrap-up video and how much I loved it. This is so good. This is a sci-fi, kind of similar to The Darkness Outside Us in regards to that feel, other than the romance is obviously not in this as much. But this is a psychological sci-fi with a lot of like scientific stuff around it. I obviously can't say too much about it, but we follow our main character who, his world is pretty much normal. He has a wife, he has a child, and then one day he goes out to a bar, talks to his friend, heads home, and on the way home gets kind of kidnapped, I guess, in a sense. He passes out, wakes up, and his world is completely different, and he's kind of discovering what in the world just happened to him. I have never read anything from Blake Crouch before, so probably I'm gonna like this more than any of his other books, because usually with Blake Crouch, the first book you read from him you'll love more than the other one. At least that's what I've heard. So I am really looking forward to reading his books in the far future, probably. I might put some distance between these books, but this one was really good. It's just had a lot of sense of what's gonna happen next. You get this anxiety of what's about to happen, how is it going to happen, like who's going to survive. It gets very cutthroat, and it's just, I just enjoy this book a lot more than I really expected going into it. I think when I don't have high expectations, the final result usually ends up being better. Honestly, I feel like I'm gonna be saying the same things, like just that these are so good. It's very unfortunate. It's so easy to have a bad rating for a book and ramble about it, but for good books, it's so hard to just like talk in length about it, because I just love these books and it's hard to just talk about them constantly, because all I can say really is that it's amazing. Read it yourself. If you want to know how good it is, just read it yourself. We have the final 2 books on my list. The second spot is a book I just only read in December. It's really heavy though, so I don't know if I can even hold it very long. I might just put it on my bookshelf. Why did I forget the name of it? This was a top contender with my first book, but no, it didn't manage to do it. Super duper close though. That is Berserk by Kentaro Miura. This is the deluxe edition. This includes the first 3 volumes of the Berserk manga series, and this is impeccable. I haven't talked about it yet in my wrap-ups. I will have to wait until my December wrap-up to talk like a lot more in depth about it. I have like photos I want to show you. It's just beautiful. This book is incredible, and obviously rest in peace to this incredible illustrator and the creator of Berserk. This is still continuing, it's ongoing, but I believe his like close friend or colleague is the one that's continuing it now, and unfortunately he passed away last year. An amazing manga artist, person that has influenced so many people and so much artwork. It's just insane how amazing this is. I went into this because I wanted to get more of like I've heard that a lot of Souls games, which is like a franchise of like Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, that series I'm really falling in love with this year, and so I wanted to kind of get into something that really heavily inspired it, and Berserk is definitely that. I'll actually show you as to how heavily inspired this is. The rune on the front, this is the rune of sacrifice within this book, and in Bloodborne I will put a side-by-side of the rune. Literally it's just a few switches of like the lines and its exact same emblem. It goes to show how much of an influence this has played on so many amazing things. This is a manga series that follows Guts, and also alongside of him and a little elf named Puck. I freaking love Puck. He is the sweetest thing in the freaking world. Literally, I love him so much. He's the best companion I can ever ask for. There's not really currently a plot for the first 3 volumes. We're just following Guts, kind of like going on this little journey of unsure what really it is, but it's kind of like self-discovery. He's experiencing all these feelings, and most of them are him kind of going berserk, essentially. He has these moments where he just kind of starts to laugh and he starts to like kill things, and it's very gory and messy and very messed up. There is a lot of content warning. There's literally a parental advisory at the front of this book. This is my library copy. I wish I owned all of them, but it's like over $1,000 to get all these editions, and I'm not doing that. I'm gonna get it from my library instead from now on, and gosh, this is just amazing. This is the best manga series I've ever read, and I've only read 3 volumes. This is the first time I've ever read a manga where I wanted to continue it. Like, I would read it for hours a day if I could, and that usually doesn't happen with manga. I usually read like a volume or 2 and I'm like, I'm done. Also, Guts is just so cool. Here's like a spread of the artwork. Look how incredible that is. There is so much good artwork. I have taken photos just for myself at this point, but I've also taken photos that I will show you in my wrap-up because I really think that it deserves it. It really does deserve it. beautiful. It's beautiful, okay? It's beautiful. This is very adult. This has a lot of darker themes in it. I'm not gonna really list the content warnings because if you're going into this, expect like everything. At least I have like everything I can almost imagine that are usually in the darker parts of content warnings. This has pretty much already fulfilled them, and it's only 3 volumes in. So if you're going into this, just be wary because it is very adult and gory and it's a lot, but it's so good. All right, so with my second book out of the way, I'm going to be showing you my favorite book of the year, and that is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is the third and final book in the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy, and this is just super duper incredible. It is amazingly written. This is the first thing I've ever read from Brandon Sanderson. Well, obviously I read the first 2 books, but this is the first trilogy I've ever read from him, and I am definitely impressed. Era 1 follows Finn, who is on the cover right here. She is kind of like someone that lives on the streets. She doesn't have really a family, and one day she kind of meets up with a group of other people who are trying to overthrow the Lord Ruler, and this kind of just goes to show what happens if the Lord Ruler wins, or like the Dark Lord, and what are the ramifications of that. They have characters in here who can consume metals, and then they can burn those metals to create like powers and magic systems. So you can burn a metal and you can have the ability to push objects away. There are ones that can enhance your senses and all that fun stuff. And then there are Mistborn who are capable of doing all the metals and burning all the metals. I just fell in love with it so much. I love the characters so much. I read this book and I cried at the very end. This is probably one of the best endings in a book I've ever read in my life. So take that what you will. If you've never read this trilogy and you plan on it, I would recommend you try it. At least try it. If you don't like the first book, you probably won't like the other ones because I think the first book was amazing as well. I think I gave maybe the first 2 books a high 4 or maybe a 5. High 4, low 5. This one is definitely a 5-star though. 100%, no doubt about it. I've tabbed this like crazy. Don't read anything, you might be spoiled, but I would tab things, and these are clear sticky notes so that I could write notes. My boyfriend was reading it alongside of me, so I would read it first, write my notes down, kind of like theorize with him while I write my notes down, and then we would talk about it afterward. It was incredible. It was really fun to do, and I am going to be starting Era 2, The Alloy of Law, next year, I think January. So look forward to that if you want me to, get to that series. I am, and I'm super excited about it. I'm hoping I'll like it, probably not as much as Era 1, but I'm still hoping I enjoy it. Yeah, this is the favorite book of the year. No doubt about it, hands down. Berserk almost got it though, but I can't. The Hero of Ages is just the ending and everything. It just deserves it. This is just an incredible book. Brandon Sanderson, I commend you. You're an amazing author. So those are my favorite books of 2022. I loved them so much, especially my top 3 were amazing. Hopefully in 2023, I will have a lot more or just as equally amazing books that I can become favorites with. What? That will become my favorites, but until then, hopefully I will get to some good books soon. I've only had like 3 5-stars this entire year, which, you know what, is not a surprise for me. I don't rate very many books 5 stars, but the top 3 books I showed you were all 5 stars. And that for me is a pretty big deal because I don't give up 5 stars lightly. I gave out 3 in 2022. Out of 85 books, I've given out 3. So I hope you have a great reading month. I hope you have a great end of the year and Happy New Year, obviously, because it's about to be the new year and oh my gosh, can't wait, and also terrified. Hopefully the new year brings us all happiness and joy and health and all that fun stuff. Take care of yourselves. Happy reading. I hope to see you all soon. Goodbye, everyone.